This afternoon we left Hobsonville Marina and we dropped down the harbour with the tide, motoring under the harbour bridge and then motor sailing down the harbour and around North Head, where we got a little bit of breeze. The motor went off and we're sailing up Rangitoto Channel now towards Tiri Channel, and then we're going to be anchoring in Mansion House Bay this evening, all being well. And the plan is that Stephen and I, and Stephen's my son and he's on board at the moment, we plan to sail across the Tasman to Australia, checking into Gladstone if we can. That's a pretty easy entry in there, not much in the way to get in. We've been waiting for a weather window for a couple of weeks, and we've decided to sail up to Opua. It's a little bit closer to the north of New Zealand, gives us a little bit of better start off, and also allows us to have a couple of weeks just shaking the boat down and figuring out if anything needs to be fixed or changed or whatever. We arrived at Mansion House Bay just at dusk. The sun was going down. Beautiful calm evening, all very quiet and still. There were a couple of other boats in the anchorage, so we anchored just a little bit further out. The dawn was beautiful, again very quiet, and we're just having a nice leisurely breakfast, and then we're probably going to sail up to Whangaroa this afternoon, and the plan is to anchor up in Opua Bay. And it's pretty calm at the moment, but we expect to get a little bit of wind as we get out of Kowau and round the corner past Cape Rodney. We had a lovely sail up to Whangaroa, and nice breeze, about 12-15 knots breeze, took us all the way up, and we just motored the last little bit into the bay, Opua Bay, and we anchored there, and just on time the wind died away and left us with a beautiful afternoon. Sun going down, nice calm weather. Excellent. Everybody very happy on board. After a peaceful night in Opua Bay, we picked up the anchor and we motored up the channel, passing a log ship on the way. And the destination today is Parua Bay. We may stay there for 1 or maybe 2 nights. The weather's going to be pretty calm for the next couple of days. Parua Bay has got a pub, so it's quite a nice place to anchor. It's quite sheltered. It's very shallow and muddy. And up there we're going to meet a couple of people. We're going to meet Russell Homan, who is a guy that designed Truce. We're going to meet his wife Anne, and she's the daughter of the guy that built Truce. So it's always good to catch up with Russell and Anne. It seems to happen every couple of years. After a good evening, a couple of beers and a good meal, we returned to truce and had a beautiful sleep, nice and calm once again. And in the morning, the sun was coming up, we picked up anchor. Took a little while because it's slow going, have to wash off the mud from the chain. It's a pretty muddy place, Parua Bay. Luckily I've got the pressure washer now, so it's much easier than it used to be with a bucket and scrubbing brush, a lot of heaving. This is much better. And we left Parua Bay and we motored down the harbour and out past Bream Head, where we picked up a beautiful breeze, and that sent us on our way, and we had a good sail going north. Going north, I was wondering where to anchor. I've anchored in a few places up here, so I fancied trying somewhere new. And we got into Helena Bay, and the weather conditions were a little bit boisterous, but not too bad. And down on the south side, we came across a little bay there, Tawawi Bay, and it looked pretty calm inside, so we popped in, and it was beautiful. Beautiful little anchorage. It's fair weather anchorage only. It wouldn't be very good if the wind was from the north. But we anchored there and tried a little spot of fishing. Didn't really catch anything. Didn't catch anything at all actually, but it was just relaxing and an excuse to have a beer. And we had another very quiet night, just a little bit of swell coming into the anchorage, but nothing to upset us. And the morning was beautiful. Very little wind. We motored out and then we tried sailing. We got a little bit of wind. We didn't get some wind. We got some wind, and then we got a little bit more. Took us up to just short of Cape Brett, and then the wind died, and we ended up motoring around Cape Brett. I've been around Cape Brett many times. It must be one of the most photographed places I have, I think. It's always a little bit different going around there. I found it's either calm or not so calm. Today was pretty calm. It was very nice actually. We went quite close into the rocks. It's deep water all the way in. Got a good sight of the lighthouse. But the wind died away and we ended up motoring into the Bay of Islands. And we anchored that evening in a Punga Cove. And then the next day went out and did a bit of fishing, and then we anchored in Auckland Bay, or Okawa Anchorage. And then we had some bad weather coming, big low pressure was coming across, didn't look very nice, so I managed to get a mooring down in Opua. So we scooted down to Opua before the bad weather came in, and we got hooked up on a mooring just in time, fortunately. And spent the next 5 days swinging around the mooring in Opua, which was really good actually. We got ashore and used the hot showers in the marina, used the facilities in the sailing club, had a couple of really excellent meals in there. I went across to Russell, did a little bit of exploring. I went to Pahia. It was a good time. A few times we got very wet going backwards and forwards in the dinghy and the chop and the rain and everything else, but apart from so after our time in Opua, we set off again to go a little bit further north, and the weather was still no good for departing New Zealand and going across the Tasman. Still unsettled and low pressures coming across. So we sailed up to Whangaroa harbour, and we had a really good sail up through Cavalli Passage, blowing about 15 knots. Just had the head sail out and had a beautiful sail up there, and we arrived just off Whangaroa harbour about an hour before sunset, I think. Went in there, tried a little bit of fishing, went to a nice anchorage. They're all nice anchorages in there. They're all pretty sheltered. That's a good thing about Whangaroa Harbour. Wherever the wind's coming from, you can always find somewhere to shelter in there. And it's just a very narrow entrance to the harbour, so the swell doesn't intrude. So it's pretty quiet. It's very nice. Then we decided that, fortunately, Stephen was running out of time, and he really had to go back to Melbourne. There didn't seem to be a weather window close that we could use to go across to Australia, and I didn't want to rush things and try and get across there in a rush. So we decided Stephen would go home, and he caught the bus back from Whangaroa Township, and he ended up back in Auckland, and then he flew across to Melbourne on the plane. So then I'm single-handed again. Very disappointing to see Stephen go and not be able to sail across to Australia, but there's no point trying to find the weather, that's for sure. So I'm going to hang around a little bit, and then I'll work my way back down towards Opua and just hang around there and wait for the next window so I can go across to Australia.